Hey, what's up? Today we're going to install one of these, a brand new Innofader crossfader in my VMS4. These are really interesting because there's no friction. When you move this back and forth, it's kind of floating. So, perfect for you scratch guys. Now, there's a little bit of guesswork when it comes to installing it though, because it doesn't really come with instructions that work for us, VMS4 owners. So, I thought I'd do a video for you. Check it out. The first thing you're going to want to do is take this off. It's two screws here way at the end. Unscrew them with a small jeweler's screwdriver. You don't want to use anything too big or you'll strip them. Now look, they're little bitty guys. Don't lose them. Put them somewhere where you can find them because you're going to need them. So that's one screw on one side, one screw on the other side. Very carefully put them somewhere. And you can use a little screwdriver or something to kind of pull out the old crossfader, and then you unplug this guy right here, and you could just take this and put it aside. You're not even going to need this plate anymore because the Innofader comes with a plate. Now when you get your Innofader, even custom designed for the VMS4, you're going to have all kinds of stuff in here that, as far as I can tell, you don't need. Cables like this, you don't need that. Here's some Velcro, that's going to come in handy later. Here's a cool little red tipped fader knob that we're going to use. Put it aside. The only thing out of this bag I think you're going to need is that red tipped fader knob, and then there are two tiny little Phillips head screws. They do give you flathead screws too, but who uses flathead? So the rest of this stuff, as far as I can tell, is kind of useless for the VMS4. Here's a cool silver crossfader plate we're going to use. And you get all kinds of little circuit boards like this, and this kind of stuff scares the hell out of me. I don't know what to do with it. This is the one you want. Notice it's got a little button on it. No, you can't see it. There you go. It's got a little button right there. I don't know. It has a name, J blah blah blah, but this is the one you want. It looks like that. A little insulator thing here that's handy. Otherwise everything else in there is kind of useless. Get rid of it. Of course, your Innofader. Oddly enough, there are instructions right on the Innofader itself, but unfortunately they do not apply to the VMS4. But you need your Innofader, obviously. And this guy right here you're going to need too. This is a plate that we're going to install next. It goes on the bottom of the VMS4 to give the Innofader a little more clearance. So here's the bottom of the VMS4, the front of the bottom. You've got to take this little plate off and replace it with this kind of high-rise plate. Make sure you use the right screwdriver. Don't use huge screwdrivers on little screws. You will strip them out, and that's gonna suck. Take it from a guy who's done it before with things. So you take this sucker off, replace it with this. Now we should have our clearance. Let's go ahead and wire up our crossfader before we put it in the VMS4. Again, this is the little guy you want. You take this little harness thing that's sticking off of the back of the Innofader, the bottom of the Innofader, and you plug it in somehow. We'll figure out in a second. There we go. Click. This guy right here, this other wire, plugs in right here. Voila. Two wires that way, two wires that way. And then we're going to plug our VMS4 cable into this slot right here. It's labeled something else. I think it's labeled Vestax, but it works for the VMS4. Now let's go ahead and put the plate on the front of this guy too. This is the front of your Innofader, by the way. This should be facing the front of your mixer. Stick this plate on. Those two little baby Phillips screws I told you about, we're going to put them in and attach our Innofader to this cool silver plate. Alright, we're good to go. Last thing we need to do, we don't have to do it right now, but we can, is put our cool little red fader knob on here. Look at that. Now before we plug our VMS4 into this adapter plate, we're going to take this heat shrink and slide it over all of this. The reason being is you don't want any of that circuitry to touch anything inside of the VMS4. That would be bad. Something could short out. So you want to make sure that all that stuff is protected. Then you plug in your VMS4. And notice we've got little Velcro strips in there in that heat shrink. Showed that to you before. We're going to use them to kind of secure this heat shrink onto the circuitry. Now all we got to do is screw it in. And remember, that's the front. After a lot of trial and error, I found the best place to stuff the circuit board and this shrink wrap stuff. It's kind of up here to the left. That allows you plenty of room to go ahead and just slip this guy right into place, screw it in, and we've just installed an Innofader. Alright, let's test it out. It's kind of late. We're in the dining room. I'm only running headphones, so no big speakers or anything. I've got virtual DJ up on my laptop. Let's give it a test run. Alright. Sure enough. It's a real nice crossfader, guys. Innofader. And that's how you install it. There aren't any directions anywhere for that right now except right here. I just showed you how to do this so you don't have to guess. Hopefully we'll get some directions up on this on the VMS4 website real soon. But until then, here you go. Practice and enjoy.